Okay, Math 1. We're graphing linear equations in standard form. And your essential question is, how can you describe the graph of the equation x plus by equals c? So first we need to figure out what the standard form of a linear equation is. And standard form is when the equation is written as ax plus by equals c. It's not quite as useful as when we have slope-intercept form. And you'll remember that that's y equals mx plus b, because we have the slope and the y-intercept given to us right in the equation. In this form, we have to do some manipulating of the equation to figure out how to graph it. So, if we're graphing negative 2x plus 3y equals negative 6, step 1 is to solve for y. Or make it say y equals. That way we can turn it into slope-intercept form and have an easier time graphing it. So in this case, I would add 2x and divide by 3, and that's divide everything by 3. So we would have y equals negative 6 divided by 3 is negative 2, and then we have 2/3 x. We want to leave that as a fraction because it's slope, and we always want slope as a fraction. This is not written in slope-intercept form yet, however. We needed to say y equals 2/3 x minus 2. Step 2 is to just graph using the y-intercept and slope. So if I were to graph this, I would start at negative 2, and I'm going up 2 over 3. So my line will look like this. Once again, my line goes the whole way through the graph. No short, stubby lines. Alright, moving on. We have to graph each linear equation. So if we're looking at x plus y equals negative 2, I would subtract x from both sides. Y equals negative 1x minus 2. So if I were to graph this, again I start at negative 2, I'm going down 1, right 1, or up 1, left 1. So my line looks like that. On our next one, we would add 1/2 x to both sides. And then divide by 2. So y equals 6 divided by 2 is 3. A half divided in half, or 1/2 divided by 2, would be a 4th. So here's my slope, and here's my y-intercept. I start at 3. I'm going up 1 over 4, or down 1, left 4. And there's my line. And the last one, I would add 2/3 x to both sides. So y equals 2/3 x. There's no y-intercept, so it's just at 0. And I'm going up 2 over 3, or down to left 3. And there's the equation of my line. So this is one way to solve linear equations. You can solve for y and graph the same way we know how. The other way to solve and graph is to use the intercepts. So to use the intercepts, we're first talking about the x and y intercept. So if this is my line, my x-intercept might be at -4, my y-intercept might be at 2. And to find out where the intercepts are crossing the x-axis and the y-axis, you fill in 0. So to find the y-intercept, you fill in 0 for x and solve for y. So that being said, if I fill in 0 for x, that's all gone. Don't have to worry about it. Divide by 3, y equals -1. So that's on my y-axis. And then to solve for the x-intercept, fill in 0 for y and solve for x. So if I fill in 0 for y, I have x plus 3 times 0 is 0 equals -3. So x just equals -3, which is here. And then I have my line. Using the intercepts is generally what you would want to do. When you have standard form, it tends to be easier, but most people forget about it and they don't do it, so that's why I show you the other way, solve for y. That's what most people tend to prefer, just because we're constantly solving for y and doing our graphs that way. Let's take a look at some word problems. If we have $6 to spend on apples and bananas, graph the equation 1.5x plus 0.6y equals 6, where x is the number of pounds of apples and y is the number of pounds of bananas. Interpret the intercepts. So here we have to find the intercepts because we have to tell what they mean. So if I have 1.5x plus 0.6y equals 6, to find the y-intercept, just like up here, we fill in 0 for x and solve for y. So 1.5 times 0 is 0, which makes all of this go away. And I end up with 0.6y equals 6, divide by 0.6, and I get y equals 10. So if y equals 10, that means that you can buy 10 pounds of bananas for $6. But you could buy no apples. And then if we try this again, to find the x-intercept, we fill in 0 for y, so that goes away. And we divide by 1.5. So x would equal 4. Which means you can buy 4 pounds of apples and no bananas for $6. Alright, what if you buy y pounds of oranges instead of bananas, and oranges cost $1.20 per pound? Graph the equation and interpret the intercepts. So, same thing as we did up here. And then go ahead and try graphing those last two problems using the actual intercepts. If you can't use the intercepts, try them using slope-intercept form. Make them say y equals. Alright, try those 3 problems for homework. Have a great night.